Bring it back to the health of the majority of people, families, young children, and those with existing health conditions will continue to suffer under the physical cloud of smoke plaguing these parks and sidewalks. To reiterate from the first two speeches, it is important to understand the definitions completely. Taken directly from the earlier speeches, the term public areas can be defined as any space that is accessible to any member of the community, including, but not limited to, sidewalks, public parks, public recreational centers, streets, outside shops and stores, public spaces not authorized as a smoking zone, etc. This is one of the most important definitions when it comes to arguing against and for the ban of smoking in all public areas. I completely agree with all terms that have been defined by my partner and by myself in the previous speeches. While my partner provided very strong arguments against the ban of smoking in public, there are still several issues surrounding allowing smoking in public spaces. To begin, one of the most critical arguments imposed upon the policy dealt with the freedom of American people and the right to choosing our own activities when in public. While this is true, what happens to the freedom of the remaining population? There is no difference in freedom to health versus freedom to smoke. If a family needs to live in a neighborhood that has a high percentage of smokers, such as the general area of Philadelphia, it becomes difficult to walk to work, ride a bike, and even take children to school because of the immense number of smokers. What's more is the correlation between high smoking populations and general wealth. Take the same city, Philadelphia, for example. Most of the families in these neighborhoods are low income and cannot afford to move out of the city, releasing a never-ending cycle of children exposed to smoke from a young age, with a large percentage of them growing up to be smokers themselves. In this sense, the neighborhoods become a prison, trapping the population of the city that does not smoke. This is an attack to their livelihood and health, a freedom that should be allowed for everyone. Moving on, my partner also provided a strong argument from the environmental perspective of smoking. The solution proposed is simple, yet difficult to fully embrace. The idea of increased education to the younger and older generations about being cleaner and more environmentally cautious is a utopian viewpoint. Many children that are part of the public education school system are exposed to the negative effects of smoking from a young and early age. Since 1984, the Comprehensive Smoking Education Act provided national education about smoking to the public, such as warning labels on tobacco products and free smoking information, hoping to reduce the number of cigarette packages being bought. While this proved decently effective, many tobacco companies adapted and came up with stronger advertisements, which continues to be a problem despite the intensive education enforced on youth and adults. This goes to show that education will most likely not be the best solution to keeping cigarette butts and vape pens off the ground and street and sidewalks. By banning smoking from public spaces, the law becomes the enforcement against smoking rather than reminders from cigarette packages in school teachers. While there are several issues with the law enforcement system, placing a legal ban on smoking in public will discourage smokers to at least feel comfortable smoking. Like any law, some form of freedom will be taken away. However, the importance of public health should remain one of the critical parts of freedom. Just because going over 65 miles per hour on the freeway is against the law, is this a valid reason to argue for the freedom of people going over the speed limit? It is time to take public health seriously and consider the negative effects of smoking. Thank you.